Speeds for free when you get TV, internet, and phone. Ask for Trio from Rev.
Join the revolution.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight,
Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis suggests he's open to a coalition between the Fnm and the DNA. That story straight ahead.
A cabinet minister calls the DNA leader a wannabe politician. We'll tell you who.
Police address a string of armed robberies. That story straight ahead in news.
welcome to our news. I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, amid talks of a potential coalition between the Free National Movement and the Democratic National Alliance, opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis suggested today he's open to the idea. However, Minnis also had some stinging words for DNA leader Granville McCartney, who has continuously criticized Minnis's style of leadership. Dana Smith reports.
Although Minnis stopped short of definitively stating whether a coalition between the DNA and the Fnm will happen, he said his party will do whatever's necessary to remove the PLP from office.
I think the key at this particular point in time is to get the PLP out. They are a disaster for this country, and they've made many promises and cannot deliver on them. The people are suffering. They cannot pay their bills. They cannot buy groceries. They cannot pay their school fees. They're losing abroad. So it's quite evident that the PLP is a failure, and the Fnm would do what is necessary to win, to ensure the removal of the PLP.
Fnm Chairman Sidney Colley has voiced his support for a possible coalition. He told the NASA Guardian if the country's opposition groups were to join forces in the next general election, it would be a good idea and spell defeat for the governing PLP. DNA leader Granville McCartney is also on board with the idea. He said a coalition would be the PLP's worst nightmare and a surefire way to finish the Christie administration. Minnis said today a coalition is something that will be discussed, but he also advised McCartney to tone down his bombastic, arrogant attitude.
These are matters that has to be discussed, and these are matters that will be discussed. But as far as a definitive thing at this particular time, I can't say anything. What I can say is I was disappointed in McCartney with his bombastic, arrogant attitude when individuals are trying to reach out.
McCartney recently compared the Fnm to the Titanic, branding it a party in disarray. He also hit out at Minnis for the party's record when it comes to Senate resignations. The latest Fnm senator to resign is Lanisha Roll, who has sparked controversy with her criticisms of her fellow party members. However, when questioned on the subject, Minnis remained mum.
That's finished. That's finished.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Dana Smith.
Thanks, Dana. Well, Golden Gate's MP Shane Gibson is questioning why a major party would want to join the DNA, led by Granville McCartney, who he described as a wannabe politician. Gibson says the DNA leader would be the only one to benefit from a DNA-Fnm coalition. Kyle Joaquin has that angle.
The DNA leader's statement on a possible DNA-Fnm coalition being the worst nightmare for the PLP isn't sitting too well with Shane Gibson. He said, first things first, why would anyone want to listen to Granville McCartney?
All I know of Mr. McCartney is he's a wannabe politician. That's all I know of him. Anything else, what he says, I don't follow those things. Because right now, we are focused on bringing relief to the thousands of Bahamians in need of our assistance right now.
McCartney won the Bamboo Town seat on the Fnm's ticket in 2007, but later severed ties with that party to form the DNA, which won no seats in the last general election. When asked to respond to the DNA leader's suggestion that a DNA-Fnm coalition would be the PLP's worst nightmare, Gibson said anything McCartney has to say is a waste of time that he could never get back.
I don't even want to comment on him. Whatever he has to say, I don't listen to it, I didn't hear him, and I'm not interested in it. All I know is we are focused on doing some things to improve, continue to improve the lives of tens of thousands of Bahamians.
According to the Golden Gates MP, he expects aspiring politicians like McCartney to try and create adversaries of veteran politicians to gain political traction. He said it's like being in first place in a race and looking back to see who's in last position.
We are setting our eyes on the goal. I have no time to comment or to listen to what a wannabe politician has to say at this time. Right? We are focused on doing some things that fall into place now, and when the battle is called for, we'll be ready.
Unfazed by plans to kick the PLP out of office, Gibson says the PLP's record will speak for itself.
We've been a party that's been around now for more than 50 years. Right? We are an institution. We've won, we've lost, we've won, we've won. Right? When you run a race, you don't worry about the people behind you. You set your eyes on the prize, on the goal ahead of you.
He says as it stands now, McCartney is a non-factor. For our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. In other news, 2 teens charged with voyeurism and indecent assault last week returned to court today for sentencing. Our Giorgio Bain was in court and filed this report.
Christina, one of 2 teens charged with the assault of a female caught on tape, was sentenced to 8 months behind bars today. Magistrate Caroline Vogt Evans was only able to sentence 18-year-old Shanton Forbes today because a letter that the court had requested on behalf of the 16-year-old from social services was not ready. Forbes of Yellow Elder Gardens and the 16-year-old pled guilty last week to 2 counts of voyeurism and 1 count of indecent assault. Magistrate Vogt Evans sentenced Forbes to 8 months on each count to serve concurrently at the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. The 16-year-old will return to court on June 1st for sentencing, pending a probation letter from Social Services. It is alleged that sometime between April 1st and May 8th, being concerned with others, the 2 made visual recordings of a 12th grade female student and published them. One of those videos made its rounds on social media and showed the girl being yanked and thrown to the floor while her private parts were exposed. Forbes admitted to taking photos but denied recording the girl. The juvenile admitted being on the scene but denied placing it on social media because at the time he didn't have a phone. Both teens said they were sorry for their actions. In considering their sentence, the magistrate said she had taken time to consider their ages, their ability to make a change in life, and the fact that both teens pled guilty at the earliest convenience. Vogt Evans said she found that jail time was the most appropriate for this offense. Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Thanks, Giorgio. Well, Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell has categorized the decision by Save the Bays to secure a court order prohibiting members of Parliament from publishing the group's private emails as totally misconceived action on the part of some pretty desperate people to stifle free speech and debate. Mitchell was speaking in Parliament for the first time since Supreme Court Justice Indra Charles granted the injunction.
The action is misconceived, foolish, and the decision is manifestly wrong in law. The privilege which I have to speak in this House is an unqualified privilege, not qualified in any way, save for any limitations which the Parliament itself imposes.
The matter stems from Marathon MP Jerome Fitzgerald's decision to read the private emails of Save the Bays members on the floor of the House of Assembly. Though House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major blasted Charles' order, he ruled that such emails could not be read in Parliament going forward unless the source is verified.
Parliament may, by law, determine the privileges, immunities, and powers of the Senate and the House of Assembly and the members thereof. And it goes on to say, no process issued by any court in the exercise of its civil jurisdiction shall be served or executed within the precincts of the Senate or the House of Assembly while it is sitting.
Mitchell questioned what the courts could do even if MPs broke the injunction. He made it clear he will simply act accordingly.
How are they going to enforce it? That's what we mean by equity acting in vain. It is unenforceable. I do not consider myself bound by any injunction issued by any court insofar as it applies to any attempt to stifle what I say and do in this place. I will simply act accordingly. And I want to say that those who for political convenience now find this uncomfortable cannot have their cake and eat it too.
After the break, 2 Bahamians arrested for suspected human trafficking to the United States as Bahamian authorities learn best practices to crack down on smuggling. Our news has that and more on the other side of this break.